Hi, this is Dr. MJ coming to you from beautiful Boston, Massachusetts. This is the Women in Dentistry podcast, where we feature women in dentistry making waves and leading the industry through the next decade. I am your host, Dr. Mary Jane Hanlon, a former dental assistant, dental hygienist, and now dentist. We are very pleased to have with us today Dr. Christina Pastan. Dr. Pastan is the director of the Mind Body Wellness at Tufts University School of Dental Medicine and an assistant professor of clinical endodontics, a 300-hour certified Kripalu yoga and meditation instructor, as well as a Lakshmi Volka chair yoga instructor. Dr. Pastan teaches self-regulation skills through the mind-body practices of yoga and meditation in a mandatory curriculum she developed for dental students. Her work also involves lecturing and guiding experiences in the mind-body practices of yoga and meditation and how they assist in the development of the dental professional as well as support individual personal growth and stress release. Dr. Pastan also maintains a private endodontic practice in Back Bay, Boston, Massachusetts. Please welcome Dr. Christina Pastan.
Thank you so much, MJ. Thanks for having me with you.
First of all, I want to talk a little bit about the program that you developed at Tufts, and then I want to go into some of the things that you have done in your life to get you there, because you have a really fascinating story. So I think it's really important, outside of our circle at Tufts, and of course everybody knows you from the work that you've been doing at the school, but outside of our circles, it would be really good for people to understand how you got involved in the wellness and mindfulness practice.
Well, it's interesting. People ask me often, how did I ever start practicing meditation and yoga? And I would love to say that I came to those practices because I wanted to, but I came to those practices because I had to. 2 years into my career as an endodontist, I was 31 years old. I was practicing endodontics 4.5 days a week, teaching a half a day a week, going to meetings, studying for boards, preparing lectures to give at meetings as a new specialist. Mm-hmm. And I was speaking to a family friend, and he asked me how I was doing, and I said, this profession that I've worked so hard for. My dad was a dentist. I wanted to be a dentist since I was 7. I had another mentor in my life, an endodontist, and here I was now feeling exhausted, cynical, not connected to myself. And this family friend I was talking to was a psychiatrist. And he said to me, I think you need to see a friend of mine who could help you relax. Now, little did I know that I was suffering burnout, because those are
Wow.
3 characteristics of burnout. So he sent me to a friend of his, a man named Dr. Herbert Benson, who is the father of mind-body medicine. I pioneer in the research behind meditation. I had no idea who he was. I go. And when I think that he was my first meditation teacher. So I thought I was going to learn how to relax, but he taught me the Relaxation Response, which was basically a Western version of Eastern meditation. It was breathing and repeating a mantra over and over. And after you do this for 10 minutes, you would really feel relaxed. And so even then, when I was doing it, MJ, I didn't know it was meditation. So I started practicing that. That really started to change some aspects of my life. But then 2 years later, I'm trying to start a family and was suffering miscarriages. And that's what brought me to yoga, because I felt like I really felt my body was saying, this place is not
Healthy.
ready to house a baby.
Right.
And I came to yoga, like doing videotapes in my bedroom. And 2 beautiful children later, I realized that these practices, I needed to continue them. They weren't just a quick fix, that they had now become something that I needed. And in my early 40s, I started to really go deeper into yoga, and seeing my students at Tufts, seeing some of the residents having panic attacks before their surgeries or different procedures, seeing our faculty so stressed. The dental school is always such a beehive to me. And I was feeling I'd been so transformed by these practices. I still am a type A, but I'm a type A in recovery. I know how to navigate my life with these tools. And when a student told me, after I taught her how to breathe to get through her apicoectomy after she was showing some anxiety and panic, she told me that I had taught her the most important skill she had ever learned in dentistry, or maybe in her life. And I thought when I walked out of Tufts that day, I had a different calling. And teaching endodontics was fulfilling, but I had something was calling me to do something that was going to be fulfilling to me, and I had a new purpose. I still do teach endodontics, but this is a new purpose. And I felt if a student in her 7th year of dental education did not know a tool to self-regulate, then what about the students in their first years, their second years? We can go all through. And then, this was a second year postgrad student. And then I was thinking of the faculty who are just burnt out. And I thought, I want to help them. So that catapulted me to Kripalu.
And most of your friends commented they thought you were going through a midlife crisis. I remember that piece of the story, right?
Yes, people were saying to me, why? My children went off to boarding school, so I had the ability to do it. But, they were saying, why in the middle of your life, you're practicing endodontist, would you ever why do you want to become a yoga teacher? And I said, I am going to pursue a yoga teacher training with a vision and with a goal. And I think a lot of people thought it was very far-fetched, but I just felt that I really feel, and now I'm going to talk a little yoga language. So in yoga, we talk a lot about leading with our heart. When we're called to something with our heart, we need to follow our heart and not look at the rewards. Not look at where it could get you or what it could be. Just keep leading with your heart, and then the goal, and everything will happen. And so I think that's how my passion of teaching these, when I approached the dental school, our administration, I have so much respect for their open-minded approach to dental education. And they looked at me and said, you know what, our students need this.
They sure
do.
do.
I felt very fortunate that they saw that passion and they believed in me. And this is I can't believe it, MJ, the beginning of my 5th year.
So we've already graduated one of the classes that you started, correct?
The D19s were my first class.
Unbelievable. So that's amazing.
So it's very exciting that our students are learning meditation and yoga in the first month of school. And then it gets carried into operative dentistry. Now we are teaching diaphragmatic breathing as a self-regulation skill for the students. They start practicing it during their competencies. And so for them to be practicing this in their competencies when they are doing the most controlled dentistry they're ever doing in their life, and a plastic tooth and a dummy head, no saliva, no blood, no movement, no emotion.
Right.
And our students get very nervous when they take a competency.
Well, I want to share a story with you, and I don't think I told you this one yet, but I was recently doing a CDCA exam as an examiner, and you and I have talked a little bit. And I know now that you're doing a guided meditation with the students ahead of this exam. Well, I was watching a student get extremely anxious, and I kept looking at him, and I said to him at one point, I said, you need to go sit down and breathe. And I didn't want to say too much one way or the other, but I said, you have to go sit down and you have to breathe because you're getting too anxious. I said, it's not going to help you do well on this exam. and he kind of looked at me kind of funny, but he did what I told him to do. And then I absolutely positively noticed the difference. He came up to me afterwards and said, "Thank you for reminding me." And that's what people need, right? I think they just need that reminder that, we are all human, and emotions can really take over in certain situations. And I know we're going to talk a little bit more about, the uncertain times that we're in right now, but I want to continue on with your part of your story. And I just had to share that because it was visible. And I think that we as faculty members too, I hope that we become more and more aware of this. And I think that that's one of the keys that I found for myself starting my practice of meditation, is that I'm much more aware of things now.
Well, there's two things that I want to comment to what you just said. That's incredible, and I love that. The fact that you have the awareness to say, go breathe. Working with the faculty at the school, and we're creating this culture of wellness where
Right.
at our school now, this lingo of diaphragmatic breathing, meditation, yoga, self-regulation. It's kind of part of
Everybody understands it.
Everyone understands
It's
it.
so great.
Thank you for reminding me is really wonderful. And I think that, when students go through college, it's a completely different 4 years of education. When students come into dental school, they are training to be professionals.
They are.
Dental professionals that have to be able to rise up in times of stress. Things don't always go right. A patient could, faint in our chair. And so just as important as a CPR is, we need to know how to stay in our place to rally our staff and whatnot. So we have this incredible resource within us, and it's the resource that keeps us alive, our breath, right? We take it for granted. All day long we're breathing. We don't even think about it.
Yep. Heart's beating, blood's going through the entire body. It's amazing.
We're not consciously breathing. We're breathing without realizing that we're breathing. But when we bring a conscious effort and we know how to control our breath, that's when we really tap into the resource that can do something for us, that can shift everything. So it's great that we can just look within ourselves and teach students how to do that, because it takes practice.
It sure does. It sure does. And are you continuing your classes, quote unquote, when the students are now off campus? Especially with all that's going on now, and depending upon how much you pay attention to the news, how much you're reading, that could contribute to increased anxiety. And obviously we know increased anxiety, just spins us out of control, and it wreaks havoc with our emotions, all of that sort of stuff. So, how are you managing all of that for the students now?
So I immediately went to Zoom conferencing and thought, well, I am going to do my Tuesday night yoga class and my Thursday drop-in meditation on Zoom. I just changed the time. I do it at 4:30 on Tuesdays, and I kept the 12:30 meditation times. I figured that's a good time for people who might be having lunch.
Perfect.
And I've been getting some people tuning in that have never had the time to tune in.
Isn't that exciting?
It is exciting because people will see me through the building or on the elevator, and they'll say, oh, Dr. Pastan, I always want to come to your yoga class, but I'm always in clinic, or I'm too busy, or I have
a meeting. That's my constant excuse. Yeah.
Exactly. And now people are like, well, I have the time. Maybe I'll try it. So now I'm excited that maybe through this time, it gives other people that aren't more opportunity to give it a try and to see what it's like.
Sure. And just so everybody knows, we're planning on doing a meditation after this, but we just want to talk a little bit more, let's shift some gears and start talking about, the impact that COVID-19 is having on all of us. Obviously, we're equipped to deal with stress in different ways. I think that being able to meditate, take care of ourselves, our bodies in the healthiest way is really helpful. But I do think that we have to be extremely careful about that mentality, that group mentality that can, kind of get us off track on where we want to be, and just increase that anxiety to the point where, some people are really panicking. And I think we should talk a little bit about that, and maybe, give, I'm sure you have insight as to, what people can be doing that will be helpful for them to manage themselves and manage going through this. I know many of our dental colleagues are not working. They're not coming into their practices anymore. I know that a lot of them are finding solace in the fact that they're trying to volunteer and do things outside of their world so that they feel needed. And I think that that sense of helplessness really impacts people, especially when we are caregivers and we are caring for people every single day. I mean, every day we go in and we never know what the problems are that are going to come in, and we have to be on our game every day in order to deal with that. But right now, we're lost. I think most practitioners are lost in themselves, thinking, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with my time? Because I've never had this before. Some people are playing tennis, some people are reading, and some people are really getting on this really bad treadmill of increased panic. So let's talk a little bit about that. Some insight for them as far as, what does anxiety feel like for most people? And can you stop that triggering from happening?
Well, with anxiety, it's a feeling of being out of control. Right? All of us wish we could control everything in our lives. And I think a lot of people wish that life would be great every day. Right. And so I think what's important in times like this, and as I say this, it's easier said than done. The most important thing is acceptance. Right? To accept that this is where we're at. Nobody asked for this. Nobody thought that we would be doing this now. Even back in January, when it was all kind of beginning, none of us thought it would get here in this capacity. So accept it. This is where we're at. This is a new way of living. And with that acceptance is to accept that we can't change it. The only thing that's going to change it are the things that, or one of the things we can control is doing what we're all doing, right? Being responsible, social distancing, working from home. That's what we can control. We're doing that. But we can't control when this is going to stop, how this is going to impact the economy, how this is affecting our staff that can't come in. And I know, because I'm a human being, it would be crazy for me to tell you that I don't start to go there myself. But when that happens, I get right here on my meditation cushion.
That's awesome.
Is that all right? To sit down. And it's about taking some time to sit with yourself and just accept that you cannot change this. And like I said, it's easier said than done, but that's actually what the whole basis of meditation is. Sitting and being with whatever feelings, thoughts, and emotions are arising in your life at that time, and meeting them with non-judgment and self-compassion, and being with them, letting them all be the way they are. And that's the practice. Because once you get to a place where you're like, you know what? I can't control this. I'm going to take the measures I can to be safe. I am going to accept what I can change, what I can do, and the rest is out of my control. Let it be out of your control.
Let it go, and just let it go.
Let it go. And so, this is a bigger version, a much greater, bigger version of, I think, actually what we struggle with small stresses in our lives.
But they have a cumulative effect, don't they? I mean, I think most diseases are the cumulative effect of some kind of stressor on our body. And, even emotions like anger, I know can wreak havoc, long-term anger, being unable to forgive somebody for a wrong done. Some people are living with those wrongs, way into adulthood, and they happen when they were little children, and not managing or looking at that, and maybe looking at it in a different way that you can move on from it. But holding on to that anger, obviously, really, it does wreak a lot of havoc. So I'm going to share a story with you. So, the last couple of weeks have been extremely stressful, trying to transition the entire clinic from, full operations down to just the emergency clinic. And I found that every day, my inbox was going up, and, I had a lot of other things to deal with outside of having to help support this transition with my colleagues. And I noticed that I was being so unproductive, and I was scattered all over the place. And, 2 nights ago, I said, okay, I'm going to start making some major changes. I have to be in bed by 10 o'clock, decrease the amount of, cocktails I have and all of that. And I made a list of the things that I wanted to make sure I do every day, like exercise. And I think I mentioned to you when we were talking the other day that I put meditation on my list, because I had done it for such a long time and, just walked away from the habit. I don't know why. So interestingly enough, the last 2 days, I've gotten up early, I've done my exercise. I have been more productive in the last 48 hours than I have been in the last 2 weeks. And I can't help but wonder how connected all of that is, because I just made choices to change some of the habitual habits. I guess I should find a better way of expressing that, but to change some of those things that we do without thinking, and really concentrating on doing what's good for my body, what's good for me, what's good mentally. I just used Calm as it's an app. I think most people know what Calm is. I use it a lot if I can't sleep at night. There's stories and all that kind of stuff, and it's a great little app. So I just used it, and I just made myself sit down for 10 minutes. And it was amazing. I just had the most productive 2 days. It's just incredible. So, can you elaborate a little bit more on the thoughts behind the 10 minutes? I know a lot of research has been done, all over the world. And the way I started was Transcendental Meditation. Somebody had introduced me to that, and that's how I got started. And so I know they've done a lot of research. So can you explain to everyone, a little bit about the chemical side of that, or what really is happening when we're meditating?
Well, basically, when we meditate, the frontal lobe, which is our processing center, it basically goes offline. And so the more you train your brain to meditate, the quicker your brain is able to go offline. It also, meditating affects our limbic system, which is the part of the brain that processes our emotions and our ability. The amygdala is another area of the brain that when we meditate, it improves that area, so we are less reactive to things. The research shows that when we meditate 10 minutes twice a day for 8 weeks, this is Sarah Lazar's research actually out of Harvard. She says that that's when that the neuroplasticity, the changes in the brain begin to happen. So it's really not a long time before we start to see changes in the brain.
Mm-hmm. So what does that do? Does it help us process? Does it help us to deal better with stress? What is it that it's actually doing? Is it helping to heal our body in some way, shape, or form? If it's neural endings, what is it actually doing for us? Like what is the effect?
Well, when we meditate and we turn on the parasympathetic system, right? And we start to decrease our stress, right? We're decreasing cortisol in our body.
There you go.
So when we're we're constantly stressed and the cortisol is coming out, that's when it wreaks havoc and is connected to chronic illness going down that road. But when we're able to get to a place where we are lowering the cortisol, where we're in more of a stress-free place, and we're continuing to do that over time, it's incredibly beneficial.
Well, I got to get back, so I'm really excited about the last 2 days. So you'll see me doing it more. I'll show up at your class again.
I'm glad. Well, the other thing that you talked about feeling very focused is really interesting too, because a lot of the times when I'm teaching the students, I have a snow globe that I shake, and the students see the snow going all through the globe. And I explain that meditation isn't about getting rid of thoughts or stopping the mind or like blanking the mind, right? The mind's never going to be that way until we're no longer here on the earth. But when I put the snow globe on the desk and all of the snow falls down to the bottom of the globe, that's what basically meditation is doing. It's allowing us to get so like, once you let go of this and that, right, it falls down to the bottom, and then that whole globe is so clear.
What a great symbol.
It's a really great visual. And so now you have this clear globe, but all of that stuff is still in the globe.
Gone. Yeah.
It's just settled. And so I did, this is a funny story. I asked one of my students, I had a group of students, I meet with them in small groups at the end of the wellness curriculum. And I said, would anyone just give me a quick adjective on how the meditation made them feel? And his adjective was crisp. And I laugh. I love that because it's kind of what you said, like, I feel sharp. I feel ready to go.
And it is an amazing thing. I call that my flow. When I'm in the flow, and I know that I felt that way several times, when I've been running or even once during a marathon, it's like I didn't even feel my physical body. I just was going. And today felt like that. Everything just worked perfectly. Everything worked out exactly, perfectly. And I got things done and things resolved. And I just think that it's interesting that if we allow ourselves to connect that way, that the energy can actually help us work and do things and accomplish things. And, I don't know what, people call it different things. I call it love. I call it the universe. I call it, we all have that one thing that connects us all, and it's some form of energy. And how to describe it, I don't know, but I just call it my flow. And when I feel like I'm in the right lane, everything works perfectly.
Well, what's interesting that you say about that is about connection. Christina Maslik has one of the best definitions of burnout. And her definition is that burnout is an erosion of the soul.
Oh.
It's an erosion of the soul. And, when we are working hard and go, and overachieving, we're like robotic.
Yeah.
And so we're not connecting, and when you meditate and you connect to breath, your life force, and you start to breathe and you're relaxed and you feel sensations in the body, you're like, oh, I'm actually a human being. And you connect to your soul, your being. And that's a very powerful thing to do. And I think we all feel better when we feel human and relaxed and clear, right? We're not frustrated.
Absolutely.
We get frustrated when we're not in that place. That's what brings out the stress and frustration.
So that should be a trigger for us. If we can really learn how to pay attention to that and notice when we do get frustrated or do notice things, I always pay attention when I hit something or I trip or fall over something, because it reminds me that, okay, you're not concentrating here, because you get distracted too easily, and that's when things start to happen. So when things happen like that, it always reminds me to get back on track and start really thinking again and stay focused on what I'm supposed to be doing, because something knocked me off track, and I notice it now. So I think that if we could learn how to trigger a reaction that is, positive, in that it reminds us that, oh my goodness, I must be off track. I've got to get back to my center. So talk a little bit more. I know that, you've mentioned centering and mindfulness so much in the teaching that you have been doing. For those people that might be listening, talk a little bit about mindfulness and about centering. What actually is that? And, is meditation the only way to go through that?
Well, centering is about bringing together your mind, your body, your breath, and your spirit. And it's a simple thing to do. It's not the same as meditation, but a centering is a really great way to just begin your day, or when you feel the way you just described, like,
Right.
okay, I need to get centered. I need to get centered, right? And so just taking a moment to stop and putting your hands on your physical body and just saying, okay, I feel my body. And then take a breath and then feel the breath within you. And then bring your mind and maybe the awareness and say to yourself, you need to stop. And then just stay connected to the breath and the body and feeling the mind. And then maybe bringing in an intention, like what do I want to shift right now? And that is what a centered person is. Somebody who's all aligned, mind, body, breath, spirit. And again, we're human. We're not going to be that way all the time. But the more we practice things and make this a part of our daily practice, these things just kind of go on default.
Right.
We can ease into them easily. I started to see my transformation with meditation and yoga probably in my mid 40s, early to mid 40s, when I was really going deep into my yoga. And I would go to Kripalu. This is before I trained, just for a weekend retreat, just to go take a retreat with a well-known yogi and just be immersed in that for a weekend. And I started to then begin to live my yoga. Like, as skillfully as I was moving on my mat, I was like, I need to be very skillful in my actions and my speech.
Oh, great way to describe it.
The way that I listen to people. Then I would come back to my office after a weekend like that. And being an endodontist, I'd have my 5 patients. And then my secretary would come in with the red pen and put the emergency on. And then another emergency. And, before I was really in my practice, my anxiety would start to go up. Sure. My tension would go up. So I was like, oh my goodness, I have to finish that is 4 canals. And then what if my staff doesn't get a lunch hour? And then the red pen would come in again. And then I would start to get really worked up about how I was going to get through my day. Well, then I'd come back from a yoga retreat or doing more home practice, and yoga was now part of my life, that the red pen would come in and I'd say, can't control it. Yeah. Aren't I lucky? Practicing gratitude. Aren't I fortunate that I have 3 more patients to see today? And it just like, as I was saying, I'd be like, what? Another patient. It'll all happen. I'm going to get through it.
Now, isn't that interesting? Because, all right, so same thing is happening. I love this quote by Wayne Dwyer. Change the way you look at things, and the things you look at will change. So you just changed the way you looked at that same thing that was happening, but you looked at it differently. It was the same thing, but you just changed your outlook about that situation. And you're absolutely right. We can't control it. It's just like, whatever's going to happen, if we've done all the precautionary things like social distancing, you mentioned that before, staying in place, being with our families, all of those sorts of things. If we are doing that, it should diminish the panic and anxiety and uncertainty that people are feeling. Now, obviously, we can't know the impact that all of this is going to have on people, but you can change the way you look at it instead. And I actually, have been thinking about this quite a bit. The silver lining here is that I really do believe that we are now being given this opportunity to stop, to just stop. And okay, what's going well, what's not going well, what are some things that I have given up in my life because I've been so busy, I haven't had the time, I haven't had the energy to do these things. What are those things that I have given up? A lot of time with my family I give up because, I'm working a lot and don't get a chance to see them as much as I would like. I have that opportunity to see them more now. I think that being home with our kids, for those parents that have the opportunity to work from home, your kids are home now and spending more time with your kids. Not that they won't drive you crazy after a couple of days. It's just like going, having them home for school break, you after a week, you're like ready. Oh, okay, you guys need to go back. But I do think it's just the universe saying, okay, it's just take a deep breath, people. Just take a deep breath and really start realizing what's important. The other thing too I've noticed is that we've made this and this is totally aside from mindfulness, but I think it's important. We have made such a rapid transition to online learning that, to me, it's a clear indication that, universities and educational institutions really have to start paying attention. The tuition costs for, especially for dental school, as you know, are astronomical. A lot of people can't really afford to go to a private school like Tufts. And, that's impacting us because their students, really great students, are choosing state schools over private universities now because the cost is just so prohibitive. And there's no indication that going to a private school is any better than going to a state school. So, this is going to put a lot of pressure, I think, on educational institutions to start looking at how they're doing things. And the pressure is going to come from this generation to say, you know what? And it's already started to happen. In 2011, NPR had a study that they did that showed that the decrease in people that are going to college is significant. In fact, companies like Google, Amazon, they're actually foregoing requirements on a bachelor's degree. They're actually instead looking for candidates who are self-directed and have found a passion about something and have pursued self-knowledge as a way to teach themselves how to do something, because it shows initiative and it shows what they're really passionate about. And I think that this moment in time where specialized knowledge is something that is necessary, because we can't know everything. I mean, it used to be a day when, a broad spectrum degree was helpful, but that's not the case anymore. There's so much content out there now that we have to be specialized in our knowledge. And I think that we're going to see a lot of students stop going to college because they're going to choose that path because it's less expensive. They get to start much earlier. Imagine being 14 years old and realize what you want to do and start teaching yourself how to do it, and pursuing that path. So I didn't mean to get off on a tangent like that, but I do believe that there's some silver linings to the impact that this is going to have on us.
Well, I think that, the big inquiry here is, what are we going to learn? What are we going to learn from this? What personally, what are each of us going to learn? Are we going to learn, like, what can we live without?
Right.
What was so important to us before that we can't do anymore, that we thought was so important that maybe it's not so important.
Right.
We don't need as much as we thought we need. I'm someone who really loves to get up and get dressed in a beautiful outfit every day. And I've been, in my jeans and a V-neck sweater, and I'm like kind of happy about that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I remember, this week on Monday, I'm like, geez, I wonder if everybody would be okay with me wearing jeans to school. And of course, I didn't do it because I have always had this mindset that, if you're a professional, you got to dress like a professional, right? So I would never want anyone to see me in my jeans. Now, certainly when I go to the school over the weekends, when I'm there for the CDCA exams, trying to support the students and stuff, I go with my jeans on because it's the weekend. I'm not going to get all dressed up on a weekend, but I mean, I'm still going to school. So, you're at home and good for you. I think why do you need to get dressed up? I think it's kind of a nice change of pace that we don't have to.
No, it is nice. And also just, being at home and cooking more and not feeling that we have to go out going out is fun. But, the last 2 weekends, we've made it fun here. I mean, oh
And
my
cooking
gosh.
in.
Yes. And, the other night my son became a DJ and we were dancing in the kitchen and we were
How
just
fun.
having so much fun. And so it's coming to something so simple.
Right.
And on a Saturday night, usually my kids would not be with me. They'd be out with their friends.
Of course.
That was really fun.
Of course. So see, we're creating memories even in a time of crisis. So I do think it's all in how you approach it. And, obviously we're not diminishing what is happening. I'm very concerned about our medical colleagues and the impact that this is going to have on them. But there is two sides of this, and let's just choose. And I'm picking that word specifically. Let's just choose how we're going to react rather than reacting out of sheer panic and fear. I do think that the one thing that I noticed happening in our industry early on was the fear was escalating. And I think the fear was escalating more because we didn't know what we didn't know. And education is a big reducer, I think, of fear. I remember the first weekend, I just spent hours and hours and hours doing research, combing everything I could read, just so I had an understanding of really what was going on. And it really made me feel better. It made me feel better. It made me feel more confident about the track that we were taking and moving towards emergency care. I was saying that before many other practitioners were getting ready, and I will tell you that I had quite a few text messages from people saying, how can you tell us to close our practice? And I totally get it. I understand. I was a business owner for many years, 22 years of private practice myself. So I do know the impact that, not having that cash flow is going to have on these people. And it just it kills me. It's very stressful. So I do know that, but I do think that the way we look at it can help to make it more palatable. And one of the things I think managing this whole thing that we might want to share with the listeners is, what are some of the steps that we can take? One that comes right to mind is taking it one day at a time. Don't overthink it. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know when the curve is going to flatten. Everybody has control over what they do for their day-to-day life. If they are choosing to stay in place and not interacting with other people, that's great. But unfortunately, we can't make choices for anybody else. We have to choose that for ourselves, and we have to be responsible for that.
Right. Yeah, I think it's taking it one day at a time and not, honestly, I'm really trying to not even look to next week.
Mm-hmm.
I really try to look to tomorrow. I only go as far as tomorrow. And I would say probably because I talk a lot about that with my kids, because I have 2 kids, that a junior and a senior in college. So, both of them have a lot of questions. And I said, guys, let's just think about tomorrow, today, and let's only look as far as tomorrow. And keeping ourselves educated on this within reason. Like I am trying
Right,
to limit
right.
I watch the news once a day. I pick my time. I try to do it midday actually, and
So you
not
don't get anxious at nighttime.
exactly. I
Right,
am really, really working on that. And, the other thing is a lot of our colleagues and our friends are going to be dealing with this very differently.
right.
And as you just said, you need to handle this the way you're going to handle it. I'm handling it the way I'm handling it, and have to be non-judgmental of the way
Right.
other people are handling it, and just continue to have hope, because we're all going to do everything we have to do, but we have to have hope.
We do, we do. And I do think that people are feeling helpless. And I do think that they need to replace that if they can. And I know it's so hard to do, easier said than done, just like you said earlier. You need to replace that feeling of helplessness with hope that, we survived the gas crisis of 76. You were probably little and you don't remember that, but
I do.
yeah,
I was
you do.
sad.
Okay. So I was in college by then, and I will say that I remember those days. I remember all the cars, down the street, around the corner, down the bend, and they were all packed up. And then, the stock market crash of 87, that was another really big hit for finances for a lot of people. Then we had the real estate crash of 2008. That was right around, and I'm sure that your daughter, your children are experiencing the same thing. My daughter was a junior in college at that point. So, Mom, how am I going to graduate and not be able to get a job? Students were graduating that year, much like our dental students graduating this year. Are they going to be able to get out to residencies on time? Are they going to be able to get to the armed services that they have a contract with? The good thing is that everybody's in this boat, and nobody's exempt. There's no nationality that is exempt from this. There's no barriers whatsoever. We're all one in this big game of what's going to happen. So I think that they can take solace in that, I think, a little bit.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like we have gone back to the olden days,
Mm,
right? This is back then, there was like maybe a tavern, one little tavern, but people didn't go out the way that our society does. People weren't connected the way that we are. At least we get to look at each other tonight and have a conversation or
sure.
FaceTime people. And I understand what you're saying about people that are feeling helpless, people that are feeling, horrible that they can't pay their staff. And
Oh,
there's nothing you can say to make that go away. It's all
no.
we can continue to do is to be grateful
Hmm.
that we are safe. If we have maintained our health, our families, our friends, and we can continue that our circles of being healthy, and to just think of 3 things every night before you go to bed that you're grateful for, it will put a lot in perspective.
That's a great tip. That's a really great tip. I know that because people can't go out, there's a lot of people getting together on Zoom or whatever video conferencing system you might have, and having cocktail parties and
Yeah.
getting together that way, because it allows them to chat and have a conversation, but keep their social distance. So I thought that was a great idea. I think that's a great way to cope with the feeling of lack of connection. And you're right. I mean, never in the history of humankind have we been so connected all over the world than now. I mean, I have somebody doing some work for me that lives in Pakistan. I have somebody that's doing some work for me that lives in India. Social media type stuff, and I think, oh my gosh, never before now would I have ever interacted with somebody from those countries. But now we're so connected, we can do that every day. It's very cool. It's
Right.
very
And
cool.
also too, I mean, getting outside. I mean,
Oh yeah.
especially on the weekends, everybody's outside, and not a lot of people take the time to take long walks. I mean, we can't go to
Mm.
the gym,
Right. You
right?
can't go to
So
the gym.
all we can really do is ride our bikes, be outside, take a run.
Go for
And
a
I mean,
hike.
people are going out, rain, snow, and, just to take in and just
Breathe.
appreciate, the world around us.
Mhm.
And, with all the cars off the roads, I think we're helping our air quality. So,
Well, they found that happened in China, didn't they?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very cool. Okay, so we are really excited to have you do a meditation with us. So why don't you talk a little bit about the type of meditation you're going to do, and just give people that may have never done this before, some guidance as far as what they can expect and all that kind of stuff, and I'll just let you take it from here.
So I thought I would guide a loving kindness meditation.
Very
A
cool.
loving kindness meditation is a meditation that originates from the Buddhist tradition. It's also referred to as metta meditation. And the word metta, when we translate that word, means benevolence, kindness, friendship, and affection. And so, loving kindness meditation focuses on developing feelings of goodwill, kindness, and warmth toward others without expecting anything back in return.
Mm.
And so, there's been a lot of research on loving kindness meditation. This meditation enhances the activity in the brain that's related to stress management, emotional regulation, immune function. So,
Oh, cool.
parts of the brain that help with all of that. And I think we could all use a boost in all those areas.
Sure.
And then, as I said before, the limbic system.
Hmm.
This also affects the limbic system, which is a part of the brain that is in charge of processing emotions and empathy. And it's a meditation I feel that really connects us. So the meditation begins with wishing loving kindness on yourself. Then we move toward a beloved, somebody that is really special to you. Then we move to a neutral person, somebody that we know but not that well. Could be a colleague, a classmate. Then we move to somebody who we don't care for very much. This is a tough one. And this is a very powerful practice when you can bring into your mind somebody that you have conflict with, resentment, and wish loving kindness on them. And then we wish loving kindness to all beings in the world.
Hmm.
So this is how the meditation will go. I'm going to play a little music. MJ, you'll tell me how the sounds. Give me a thumbs
Okay.
up on the sound. I will bring you into a relaxed, just your seated position. And you just have to listen to my voice. And I'm going to repeat 5 traditional phrases that will be in the context of all these people you're wishing loving kindness on. And those phrases are, may I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be happy. May I be safe from harm. And may I be peaceful and at ease. And
Just those
those,
words are beautiful.
I know, I
Oh,
know. So that's a context, and we're just going to go for it.
okay. I'm ready.
So get comfortable in your seats. Ground your feet into the floor. Feel yourselves rooted in the seat that you're sitting in. Take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, feel the shoulder blades relax down the back. And begin to bring attention to the breath. Just observing the breath as it comes in and out of the body. Now visualize your heart center being a wheel of green light. The heart center is actually an energy center of green light. And now breathing from that heart space, begin to generate kind feelings toward yourself. And feel any areas of mental blockage or numbness or self-judgment just fade away. And as you continue to breathe in and out, I will say these traditional phrases and you will repeat them silently back to yourself. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be happy. May I be safe from harm. May I be peaceful and at ease. And now move to a person who invites a feeling of pure, unconditional, loving kindness. The kind that doesn't depend on getting anything back. Someone that's very beloved. Someone that you consider a mentor. It might be a parent, a grandparent, a teacher, a child, even a pet. And visualize this person in your mind, bring them into your heart, and slowly repeat these phrases to yourself. And you may say their name as well. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be happy. May you be free from harm. May you be peaceful and at ease. And now, bringing your attention to a neutral person, somebody that you feel neither strong, like or dislike, is somebody that you, a neighbor, a friend, an acquaintance, someone you don't know so well, and feel tenderness and loving care for their wellness, and repeat silently to yourself, may you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be happy. May you be free from harm. And may you be peaceful and at ease. And now to the difficult one. Bringing to mind somebody that you may have hostile feelings or resentment. And this might be something that, to the best of your ability, that you will attempt to do. And to visualize that person and wishing them loving kindness by saying silently to yourself, may you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be happy. May you be free from harm. May you be peaceful and at ease. And now expand your awareness and picture the entire globe in front of you as a little ball floating in the air, imagining all living beings on this earth. And imagine them being happy and at peace, all living in harmony, surrounded by love and healthy. And repeat these following phrases silently to yourself as you radiate loving kindness to all beings. May all beings be filled with loving kindness. May all beings be well. May all beings be happy. May all beings be free from harm. May all beings be peaceful and at ease. And now embodying the feeling of love and kindness through your entire being, breathing it in, breathing it out, feeling it radiating from your body out into the world. And as I ring my chimes, slowly open your eyes and take a moment to notice how you feel.
That was beautiful.
Isn't
You
that
know,
beautiful?
isn't it amazing that, I mean, I had never heard of loving kindness meditation before. You know, I haven't come across it. And then, you know, that article that I shared with you on anxiety in the Harvard Business Review, that he mentioned it also. And it's just amazing because it kind of fits with where we are today. And it's not just about us, it's about the whole world, and the whole world needing loving kindness, and us all to just share that love.
Well, and I think when you get to the part of the meditation when you have to bring to mind somebody who you struggle with,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I think about it a lot in our profession. We have all had grumpy, miserable, difficult patients in our chairs.
Sure.
And it's really hard on us when we're trying to give them the best care that we can, and they just won't have it. They won't appreciate it. And to be able to practice that with somebody like that, whether it's a patient or somebody you meet crosses your path that's just so hostile, to just, instead of letting them get under your skin, to walk away and say, you know, blessings on your path. I wish you loving kindness. May you be well and healthy. And it's such a positive, empowering way to walk away from the situation. And boy, it's a lot better than getting yourself all
Right.
steamy about it.
Right. Because you can't think when you get like that. And you
Mm-mm.
make mistakes. And I think that that's the big key is understanding the impact of taking that path has on us, both mentally and physically. You know, that internal turmoil, and, you know, that energy has to be expressed somehow, some way, in some form. So, you know, repeated use of that over and over again really does, it has to wreak havoc for us. That was beautiful, Christina. So tell our listeners where you can be found, because I know that you share your meditations freely with the world, and that you have a channel of your own that people can go and use your music and your meditation. Tell them all about it.
I have a YouTube channel.
Which is
You
great.
can find me on YouTube, Christina DiBona Pastan, and I have a lot of chair yoga videos. I have a series of 6 chair yoga videos of different length that you can do right at your desk,
Which is
and
great.
8 meditations that you can listen to there. You can also find me on SoundCloud. I have all my meditations on SoundCloud. I am on Instagram now at Dr. Pastan's Peace of Mind,
Cool.
PEACE of Mind. And I have a website, ChristinaPastan.com. So you could contact me. My email's on that website. That will come right to me.
Oh, that's so exciting. I have thoroughly enjoyed, obviously we know each other well and we can talk forever and ever, but I have just thoroughly enjoyed this time together tonight. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking your time out and sharing with everyone some of the ways that we can, get through these uncertain times, and how changing the way we look at things might be helpful for people out there in the interim until we know what's going to really happen.
Thank you, MJ, for having me tonight. It's always a pleasure, and you are one of my dear friends. So it's always wonderful to be with you.
And the same here. So thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed tonight's interview, episode, whatever we want to call it. Just spending time with my friend, Dr. Christina Pastan, and meditating together. And hopefully you will find some solace in all of this. And our dear hope for all of you is that we get on the other side and we're better than we were when we went into this whole crisis. So thank you very much, everybody, for being here. Thank you so much for listening to the Women in Dentistry podcast with Dr. MJ Hanlon. If you like our show and want to know more about us, check out our website, thewomenindentistry.com, or please leave us a review on iTunes. Join us for our next episode as we bring you another amazing woman leading the way for the next generation.